Good afternoon and welcome back to the channel. Today we are up in Idaho Falls, Idaho, and that's because we are going to interview Jeremiah Clark with Clark Industries. He's a pretty cool guy, and if you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that he's the guy that I'm getting the electric mini front end loader from and testing, but he has gotten himself into a bunch of side hustles. So I wanted to take a little tour of his facility with you guys, and I want to sit down and interview him and maybe give you guys some ideas or insight into creating these heavy duty side hustles. So let's go inside, let's sit him down, and let's have a chat.
My name is Jeremiah Clark. I'm the owner of Clark Seed. I bought it from my dad. The business is probably 40 years old. I've had it for about 25 years. Along the way, we've had a lot of ideas. It's really busy. It's a good business in the spring and in the fall. But then to pay the bills in the summer and winter time, I've had to go in and start doing side jobs and side hustles to help pay the bills. So one of the first earliest ones that we had was snow plowing. It coincided pretty good with our season. It was off season for our seed cleaning. So we'd go in and I actually originally bought a snowplow business from a guy. He was retiring. He helped us out. He carried the loan for the business. He had 6 plow trucks and we plowed snow, had some pretty good accounts. The challenge we had with that business was it was too far away. It was about an hour away from where I lived. A lot of times it would snow here, but not there, and then it would snow there, not here. And I ended up selling that business to my brother-in-law, and he's made a really good go of it. And then a year or two later, he wanted me to plow for him on a contract up here while he plowed for Lowe's down there. So we started doing Lowe's stores and got to where we were doing all the Lowe's in Idaho. We were plowing snow for all the Lowe's in Idaho. The Sam's Club next door to one of the stores liked what we were doing and wanted us to plow for them. So we put in a bid and we got the bid, and after a 3-year contract, we decided we'd go in and get some front end loaders. And we bought 3 loaders from China. It was a little nerve-wracking spending as much money as we did. I sent it out on a wire and I did not know if I was ever going to get any loaders or get anything back. It was one of the riskiest things I ever did. It was my entire nest egg. And got the loaders, plowed with them all winter long, and decided we wanted some bigger loaders. So we sold those, and we were amazed at how fast they sold. We actually sold them for what we bought them for, and we could have sold them for a lot more. And we're like, well, maybe we ought to do this on the side. So we bought some more loaders to plow snow and ended up getting bigger ones and some smaller ones. And just on the side, we started selling the loaders along with the snow removal business, plowing snow for companies. So that was kind of one of our first big side hustles that turned into something pretty big. We just last year bought our 100th loader from China. And they've been pushing me to do electric loaders for a few years. My customer base, we clean seed, and so I know a lot of farmers that use loaders for hay and moving dirt, landscapers, but I didn't think that they would like the electric loaders, so I drug my feet. And I've been over to the factory a couple times in the last 10 years, and after driving the electric loaders, I'm like, these actually are pretty decent. They're strong, they're quiet. The big thing with electric vehicles is a lot less maintenance on them. So we decided to give it a go and got some electric loaders over here. They've been doing well. Kind of while all that was going on, we bred some quinoa. I'm in ag, and I like ag, and bred a new quinoa variety. I was able to get a patent on it. We built a quinoa processing facility here in East Idaho. After a few years, a couple farmers that we worked with, they decided to buy me out, and so taking some of that money, we put it into this new building that we're in now. I put in an automatic bagger, bought a semi, So we do a little bit of heavy haul with our semi. We custom bag for other people and bag our own seed. So that's kind of grown into that. The other thing that in our business, in the seed world, a lot of the big companies are getting to where they have patents on all of their seed varieties. And they've got farmers signing contracts so that they will not clean their own seed. What they do is they'll sell the farmer the seed, the farmer will sell the seed, and then for the next year, they have, instead of replanting what they harvested, the companies make them buy new seed again. So knowing all this is coming down the road, we decided to get our own molecular biologist and breeder and start breeding and creating some of our own varieties. So we bought some equipment and hired a molecular biologist, Sheila. She's from the Philippines, and she's been helping us with a gene that will increase the root growth on plants, make them grow faster and stronger, healthier, hopefully use less water, less fertilizer. And we're kind of halfway, I would say about halfway through the process. She's got the gene transferred into some varieties already. It's going to take us a couple years to test it out and make sure it's doing what we want it to do, and then release it into the public. So that one's kind of a long-term deal. It's a money pit right now. Hopefully someday it'll make us some money and then come back around. So we're doing all that on top of our main business has been seed cleaning, and that's kind of helped us being able to do a lot of these other peripheral things. It gives us time to make some money in our busy season, but then also gives us time to work on other things in our off season.
So your first side hustle, if you will, turned into real big job was when you took over the basically snowplow contracts. Can you walk me through how you got that? And not everyone just gets to take over. How can somebody start doing that? Because even though you took it over, you had to do good, you had to finish jobs, you had to get new jobs. Like, how did that process work for you?
So it worked out pretty good. It scared me to death. I hired an employee. I'd never had an employee before. I was in my early 20s, and he was such a good worker. I'm like, I got to find something to do. So I started looking around, and I found this business for sale. And the guy is older, had lots of experience, and just wanted to help somebody out. And so he actually carried the loan on the business. And he had already, over 20 plus years, 30, 40 years, built up contracts that he had already gone out and got. And people would just call him to do snow removal and parking lot maintenance. But I think it's actually one of those side hustles you could go. And here's, I guess, my advice for somebody that's starting out. A snowplow costs a fair amount of money. I wouldn't go and buy a brand new snowplow if I was going to go start a new snowplow company today. I'd probably go find somebody that wanted snow. First, I'd go find somebody that wanted their snow removed. And then second, don't get a brand new truck, get a used truck, and then a used snowplow, and then try it out, see if it's going to work. If you hustle and you're in it long enough, people are going to know your name, and then it'll just get word of mouth spread around, and you can pick up quite a bit of side business that way. That's what I would do. We did a lot of cold calls when we first started out. We'd go knock on businesses' doors and ask them, hey, we've got XYZ company and we're plowing snow, or do you need your parking lot swept? So it's a lot of hustle. You can go out and cold call anybody. It's a little bit hard. Once you get the lingo down, it's a little bit easier. It's hard to walk into somebody's business and say, hey, I want to do this for you, and you don't know what you're doing. So after you get a little street cred, it makes it a lot easier. You know, you plow a few parking lots, you know what you're talking about, you know how long it's going to take you to do it, you know how the snow is going to move, or you know how to, if you can sweep up a parking lot, how it's going to work. It makes it a lot more easier, and you're a lot more comfortable talking to somebody that you don't know, complete stranger, and be able to, hey, I want your business. I'm good. You're gonna want it. What can we do?
So we were talking a little bit earlier in regards to basically like you were on track from fairly young age to make over $1 million, and this side hustle turned real hustle of snow plowing ended up netting you um, gross at least over $1 million. Is that correct?
Yeah, when we first started out, the business that we bought was actually a pretty good, solid business. And we never made $1 million in 1 year, but the sales over the life of the business, over 10 plus years, definitely had over $1 million in sales. The years that we were doing all of the lows in Idaho, we were over $200,000 in sales each year.
So something I like to do with the channel is try to discover all kinds of different side hustles that net over $100 an hour. That's our kind of minimum that we do. The rock delivery has gained, we were doing that in the rock delivery. The window tinting, we're at $100 plus an hour. It's funny you had mentioned that you started out your journey kind of with this snow plowing business, because I was wondering, man, can we make $100 an hour plowing snow? And it sounds like the answer is, oh yeah, definitely. So would you say it has the Jeremiah Clark stamp of approval for snow plowing as a heavy duty side hustle?
Yeah, yeah, you can definitely make over $100 an hour. If you're good at what you're doing, you may bid jobs that, hey, I'll do this job for $50. But if you're in there and you're only in there for 15, 20 minutes, that's well over $100 an hour.
So one thing you told me is how you were basically able to parlay all this stuff that you had going on from the start into real estate. And you had mentioned you had bought another facility somewhere over there, but what ended up happening is you basically turned this whole 50-acre lot into um, a big old project. Tell me more.
All right. So we've got going into Quinoa. We started small. We were in a smaller shop that we were renting. We ended up buying that building, and then once we got to a 24-hour production schedule running quinoa, we knew we needed something bigger. So we looked for a property that was on rail that we could ship out, maybe possibly in the future on rail. And I found this 50 acres. The real estate agent said, "You don't need 50 acres." So I just tried to buy a few acres on the railroad tracks, and they didn't want to do that. So I did some math and said, "Hey, why don't we just develop it all?" So we made an offer, and they accepted it. The real estate agent couldn't believe that they accepted our offer. That was a owner carry, same thing as our Pocatello sweeping business, and started developing this property. We built our quinoa facility over here. It was the first food grade facility that processes quinoa in the United States. We put in some roads. My dad and brother-in-law helped me put in some roads. We developed it. We sold off lots. It's 100% sold out. So we don't have any more lots for sale anymore. Once we sold the quinoa plant, after a couple years it was up and running, we sold the quinoa facility, and then I built this building. Moved in here a couple years ago and put in an automatic bagging line, put in our genetics lab. We do CRISPR gene editing. We're transferring genes into plants, hopefully getting some new varieties that are better than what's out there. Again, in the wintertime, it slows down, and I ended up selling the snowplow business a few years back, but we got into hauling some tanks from Wyoming. There's some oil-filled companies we know that have tanks that farmers want to put fuel in. So we hauled a few on our big Tex gooseneck trailer, and then decided to build a trailer. The trailer that we've got, it ended up being kind of a two-stage process. We built one that could haul two tanks at one time, but then they were just small tanks. They were 12,000 gallon tanks. And we decided to make a bigger trailer that could haul two bigger tanks. So these are 16,000 gallon tanks. And we sell those on the side. That's just something that farmers and ranchers use for fuel or for watering stock. We borrowed a concept from some grain trucks. Grain trucks have hoists in them to lift them up and empty the grain out of the back of the truck. And we did the same thing on this. This actually has a hoist. It'll lift the tank up and stand it up. We can drop them off, and then they don't need a crane or anything to pick them up.
While I have you, there is one more question, maybe packed with many questions. But if you had to do it again, what advice would you offer yourself and to everyone who watches the channel and who's interested in starting something on their own, maybe with what they have, maybe for a small investment, maybe for a large investment? What would you give them as far as like one piece of advice? And I think the goal here is, yes, to make over $100 an hour, to do something that's highly profitable, but also to get away from the corporate ladder, man.
If you're passionate about something, it will just automatically come through. I think if you can, even if it's like snow removal, that wasn't something I grew up saying, oh, I want to be a snowplow guy. But if that's what you're going to do, you learn it, you love it, you figure it out, you know the ins and outs, you walk the walk, talk the talk, it becomes easier. There's going to be days that are going to be bad. Any business owner is going to have a bad day. And so you got to have enough passion to get you past through those hard times. So that would be some advice I'd say. You gotta live it. Otherwise, it's not going to be great, and on a bad day, it's just going to fall apart. So that's something I'd definitely say. Some advice I'd give myself a long time ago would be, you don't always have to have the biggest and greatest. You can start off small. You don't have to go borrow a ton of money to get some of the jobs that you want to get. You can go out, you can hustle, you can bootstrap, and climb from the bottom. You don't have to start at the top. Start at the bottom and work your way up. People, and I get this now, I had a lot of business owners help me when I was a younger guy. They could see that I was wanting to work and hustle and put in a good day's work. People want to hire people like that. Business owners will recognize somebody that is willing to go in and work. If you're not willing to work, you're not going to get the job. 90% of getting the job is showing up. So if you're going to go out there and work and hustle, you're going to have all the business that you want. So go out there, do it, work, show up to work.